Well, a new report suggests Canada's claims that it hasn't allowed arms shipments to Israel since 2024 don't hold up. The data was uncovered by a group of researchers from 4 NGOs. CBC's Evan Dyer joins us live from Ottawa now with more on this. Evan, thank you for joining us here. What's in this report? What more does it have to say?
Well, this report really drew on a couple of sources of data from outside of Canada to sort of cross-reference what they say against what the government of Canada says, which is that as of January 8th of last year, it cancelled all permits for export of arms to Israel that could constitute offensive weapons. We've heard slightly shifting definitions of what they didn't want to go, but basically they said lethal equipment at one point or equipment that could be used in Gaza, but very much telling the Canadian public that Canada has withdrawn permission for Israel to export weapons, arms and ammunition from Canada to Israel. But researchers were able to go into the database of the Israel Tax Authority, which, like most countries, collects very detailed information on imports entering the country and then classifies them by the International Harmonized System, which ascribes codes that describe the nature of the goods entering the country. And you can see that the Israeli figures, for example, for this year, 2025, which the government of Canada would say is a period in which these arms transports has certainly not been happening. You can see that goods have entered Israel under codes that apply to arms, ammunition, bullets. For example, a shipment of 175,000 units of what classifies under the Israeli Customs Code as arms and ammunition bullets, military bullets. So there are discrepancies, to put it mildly, between what the government of Canada has been saying and what those records show. But the researchers also found shipping documents, publicly available, commercially available shipping documents that detail about 100 individual shipments, flights from Canada, as well as some marine shipments to Israel of all kinds of different goods, some of which probably are covered by existing permits. Not all export permits to Israel have been cancelled. There are some sort of more innocuous materials that are still being allowed to flow, as well as other shipments that appear more questionable. And one of those, which they mentioned in their report, for example, was 3 shipments going from the General Dynamics Ordnance and Tactical Systems plant in Repentigny, Quebec, to Israel that were listed as cartridges. And we just heard back actually from General Dynamics saying, no, that shipment was not actually of offensive material. Those were training materials, which were shipped to Israel without the need for an export permit. But of course, the shipping documents show them as cartridges and they were shipped as dangerous goods. So we've gone back to General Dynamics for more clarification about that. But certainly the data, both the shipping data and the Israel tax data, does appear very hard to reconcile with the claims that the government of Canada has made about stopping the trade of arms and ammunition to Israel.
What is the government saying about all of this, Evan?
Well, they haven't said much to me since last week. We did go to them and we received a sort of a boilerplate statement, which was a reiteration of Canada's position, which is that on January 8th of last year, it reviewed all existing permits and put a stop to about 30 of them. Only 2 permits were issued last year. But one of the things that this report shows is that while no new permits were issued, a lot of permits continued to be used. And there was, in fact, a bit of a rush in the last 3 months of 2023 to get new permits for quite high dollar amounts. And so although only 2 permits were issued in 2024, the government of Canada's own figures show that 164 permits were used in 2024. And that would make Israel the 4th biggest client of the Canadian arms companies in terms of permits used. So certainly there are, even within the government of Canada's own figures, a lot of numbers that raise questions because of those sales recorded to Israel in the year 2024, according to the government of Canada's own figures, $2.2 million fit under the customs code of bombs, torpedoes, and other munitions. So definitely there are questions that arise out of this report, discrepancies that it calls to attention that still have not been answered.
Okay. Evan, thank you for looking into all of this for us. We do appreciate it. The CBC's Evan Dyer there in Ottawa.